Hey everyone, welcome to the Good Place Bench. Just before I was heading off, Gayle scooped in and said, I need to be on this bench and share my story. So as part of the International Conference for Urban Health, I have Gayle here from New Zealand. Quite a flight, quite a travel. What brought you all the way to Marrakech, Gayle?
Thanks. I'm here as the special envoy from the International Federation of Landscape Architects to the International Society for Urban Health, because as landscape architects we understand the need to be engaged at that very high level, so we are official partners with the International Society for Urban Health. We are both UN affiliated organisations, and this is where things happen. So we are here to take the knowledge that's out there and translate that, we hope, into action through connection. So through the networking, meeting with like minds and saying, but have you considered this? And so that's why I'm here, basically to network, to meet people and say, hey, what are you doing? And how can I help you do what you're doing better?
Right.
And that's
To create a better world.
to create a better world. It's all about
Yeah.
saving the planet. I mean, we're at mission critical stage. And when we talk about crises, we raise our cortisol levels and it's all a high stress situation. So we have to come up with solutions.
Right.
We have to give people hope. And we can do that. And we are doing that. And that's the beauty of this sort of a setting, is that we have the energy,
Yeah.
we have the case study examples. So the presentation that I gave yesterday, I presented my research. I conducted a randomized control trial, the gold standard of medical research. I found almost 20% reductions in salivary cortisol, which is 4 times what you normally get if you go into an outside park space, in terms of that physiological stress response. And I then went on and gave case study examples of where all this stuff plays out.
Yeah.
So in an eco-resort in Malaysia, in an airport in New Zealand, in an aged care facility in Portugal. These are all places where we have used the knowledge to create better places, to create measurable health outcomes that are then recognised by clinical practitioners. So, yeah.
Which is about physical health, mental health, what kind of health?
Principally, where my research sits is at that stress reduction level.
Right.
So what we've found is, and not just me, but there's a huge body of evidence that says that if we reduce stress levels,
Right.
physiological stress, which is our cortisol, and perceived stress, which is our well-being status, our sense of flourishing, actually our physical health is going to be better.
Right.
So our lifestyle choices are improved.
Yeah.
And quite spontaneously. So people start going for walks. They engage, they play with their families more. When they are relaxed, when they are feeling refreshed, restored, and the best place for them to do that is outdoors in nature, in that really nature-rich environment. And that's what we've found through the research, is that we need life around us.
Yeah.
And it is that metaphor for human life that we have the natural world that teaches us, all by itself, how to live well. And so that's, really the beauty of it all.
And then you connect landscape architecture to stress relief?
Yes.
Because there are a lot of other factors that can help to stress relief.
Absolutely. So in terms of the effect size, if we go to the science, if you have a massage, which is a one-on-one facilitated experience, you will expect about a 40% reduction in your cortisol levels. So that's fantastic.
I should have more massage.
Oh yes, massages are good. Let me tell you, they're good. So is a warm bath, that's all good too. Okay, so this concentrated experience of nature in a sensory garden, such as what I specialise in, gave us an almost 20% reduction.
Yeah.
So this is something that if we provide these spaces in schools, in workplaces, in corners of public parks, in social housing, in places where people spend time, where they can get to easily, they can pop out in their lunch hour from work, they can take care of themselves, the self-care, the self-help. And so the unfacilitated, the nature of it. The fact that you don't need an expert to say, you don't need a psychiatrist, you don't need a psychologist, you don't need an occupational therapist to say, this is what you need to do. When you've got a tree that looks attractive, you will go and sit under it and you will feel 1,000,000% better just by being there and just relaxing.
Yeah.
And so, yes, there are other things that influence your stress reduction, but it is so simple. You don't need special equipment, you don't need special shoes, you just need the trees.
Yeah.
And then once we've got the trees, the shrubs, the flowers, the fruits, that ecosystem service, actually then we've got a solution for things like climate change, biodiversity loss. So actually it's all interrelated.
Absolutely.
So what landscape architecture can do is to inject those knowledge points into design schemes that say, yes, we need green space, yeah, but what sort of?
Yeah.
Because it's not all created equally.
Yeah, yeah.
And in actual fact, some can have negative impact. And we don't want that because that's a waste of money. So next week I'm going to Birmingham to share with the NHS there how to get the most out of the environments that we've designed for them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So sensory gardens, so that they can maximise the return on their investment. So it's that sense of making good use of limited funds.
So it should almost be certified.
Well, should be.
It
Yeah.
should be, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like goes through like quality control before being implemented.
Yeah. And that is missing at the moment.
Because it feels more like everybody does just what they think is
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. Without actually going back to the science to say what's really going to create that measurable effect, and then having somebody to follow up and say, let's just measure those effects. What
Right.
difference has it made? And then you can go back to the funder and say, oh, it did work. Oh, you've reduced hospital length stays. Oh, you've improved, the pro-social behaviour in the community. Reduced drugs and violence on the streets. I mean, the ripple effect is profound.
But even perhaps beyond landscape architecture, it's very much about communication.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
making those projects at work more visible, more known.
Yes.
So it becomes more like an archive or little supermarket with shelves
Yes.
where like, take this one idea or take this idea and make it happen.
Okay, I'm going to say yes but no at this point. So there is no one size fits all.
Right.
So part of
there needs to be customization.
yeah, very much so, because no one individual is the same, no one landscape is the same, and that is where the design can fall down, is because people can say, so a planning department in a city somewhere will say, we need 3 trees per hectare, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
and they will have a prescription
Yeah.
that they think will work for whatever reason, and then actually that's not backed up by the science, but that's what they understand, so they then specify that through the design scheme, and so the design scheme is approved or not approved by the planners as to whether or not the project meets the set criteria.
Right.
So in terms of that communication that you're talking about, we need to be communicating so widely, not just having these sort of conversations, which will help, I hope, but to say, how do we get that message to all of those decision makers at those really high levels so that they are expecting to have those health and well-being outcomes from the start, from the outset.
And they are in charge of implementation
Yes.
and making it happen.
Yes.
So you need to.
Absolutely, yeah. So a lot of the work that I do within my design practice is in fact education.
Right.
So we...
And going around the world, educate people.
Well, yeah, a lot of that. Yeah, I do a lot of that. So, I...
Living by conferences. Yeah.
Living by conference, but also remotely. So I've worked remotely since 2002, I think, was the first remote project I did in the Altiplano in Mexico. I've never been to Mexico, but they needed my knowledge. I don't remember which country I was living in at the time. I think I was living in Australia. But that was the start of saying, I can help you. I can't be everywhere all the time, but we can use technology to get my advice to you.
Yeah.
And so sharing that message, becomes that whole opportunity to actually inject into other people's design schemes and say, okay, I can help, I can add value. Yeah. So it's quite fun.
Wow. Since 2002.
Yeah.
Wow. Where do you live now? In New Zealand.
Yeah, it's
Been around a while. I came
it's
back.
kind of ironic in that living that jet-setting life, doing great things here, there. We are now developing a lavender farm. I'm concentrating on stress reduction, and it's just like, this is what I need personally in my life. So I go home to the most beautiful place in the world, I think. That we're close to the mountains, we're close to the sea, we have a big river, there's not enough water in the river, that's the problem universally. Well, no, actually there's flooding in some places. But it's that sense of, going home to that, absolute haven. I have trees.
Is that what a good place is, Gayle?
A good place feels good. And so a lot of what we do from a design point of view, so I'm a sensory designer, so it's about how it feels. So if you feel comfortable in a space, regardless almost of what it looks like, it's working for you. So a good place feels good, and generally speaking, it looks great, because when it attracts the eye, the ear, the smell, the taste, then your body fully engages. And then we get into this whole other topic of sensory integration, and we have all sorts of other effects going on. But you get that, what we call a package deal.
Yeah.
So at a very superficial level, we can look at a view and say, oh yes, that's quite nice.
Yeah.
Or
You
a
feel
good place feels deep within your soul. It feels good. So
And you know it when it's there.
you do.
Immediately.
Yeah, you do. And so, concepts of feng shui, that sort of thing, it's about, this is ancient wisdom. It's how stuff feels. You just know.
You just know. What can we do, Gayle, to make our places a good place?
We can allow nature in. Nature is messy. Nature is that metaphor for our lives. Our lives are messy. And when we expect life to go along a certain track, doing what we want it to do, we get sick. We become ill from a health point of view because our expectations aren't met. We stress, cancers, heart disease. They're all related to life things going wrong. And then there's some other things that go on in there as well, hereditary stuff. But if we can say, yes, this caterpillar that it's eating a hole in my plant, that's dreadful, but it's going to turn into a beautiful butterfly that then brings delight and joy. This is the whole cycle of life. This is growth, death, decay. So
Don't stop the cycle.
No, exactly. So what can we do? We can let life in and allow it to be a bit messy. So when leaves fall, leave them there. They're part of that cycle. Yeah? When a tree dies, let all the creatures that want to decompose that tree back to a soil state come in and do their thing.
So cities don't start to clean up. Just leave it.
And in so doing, they save so much budget. But for it to be publicly, socially acceptable, an enormous amount of education is required. Yeah. So things like long grass. It's like, wow, what a joy. People love long grass. But then that's situational too. In some places, you can have snakes
Not
in the long grass.
practical.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got to choose your response depending on the location, which goes back to the about, you can't cookie cutter, one size doesn't fit all. But there are things that we can do that are simple, that are so cost effective. Yeah. It just
Thanks,
makes sense.
Gayle, for your energy. It was captivating. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Robin.
You're on a
My
mission.
pleasure.
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
And thanks for sharing it in this channel. And thanks for your time. Good luck in Birmingham next week. And to everyone watching, thank you for your attention. Check out Gayle's work below. And we'll definitely be in touch for sure.
Sounds good.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, Robin.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.